The Mets farm system is absolutely kicking. We have got some exciting young players to talk about. We are back for another prospect report here on the Mets'd podcast. We appreciate all of you that not only listen to the series recap videos, but also the prospect reports. We love talking about the farm system. We love talking about the future of the New York Mets, and we have got so much info, so much data on everybody that you could ever possibly care about in the minor leagues right now for the New York Mets. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the Mets'd Podcast YouTube channel if you enjoy this content. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. Shout out to the members over on YouTube. You guys get the videos early if you guys are interested in that. $2.99 a month, episodes early, and a once-a-month live Q&A live stream for you guys. And do we have anything else to shout out? Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Mets'd. You can follow us there. All right, James. Where do we want to start? We want to start down in PSL. Got some exciting young players down there, especially on the pitching side.
Yeah, let's start with the young guys and work up all the way to the guys who are, knocking the door of the major leagues. But I do want to go down to PSL first because over the last couple weeks in Port St. Lucie, we have a pitcher. His name is Raimon Gomez. He threw a pitch 105 miles an hour.
That's all you need to know.
105 miles an hour. He is 23 years old. He's a bit old for the level. Mets are trying to work him out as a starter down there because he was in Brooklyn last year by the end of the year, but now he's back working on some new stuff. 105 miles an hour. 105 miles an hour, 105 miles an hour. He's only thrown 9 innings this year. The command is not very good, but his fastball has averaged 100 miles an hour, and that is with almost 7 feet of extension. So even the average 100 kind of feels like 105. That 105 probably kind of feels like 110. It is despicable. And when you throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball with a pretty good shape and really good extension, getting 40% whiffs on it, that's a pitch he's throwing 70% of the time. He has a slather he's mixing in too, but like all you got to know right now for Raimon Gomez, I don't know if he's going to be a starter moving forward through the rest of his professional baseball career, but he threw a fastball 105 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's something that like only maybe a handful of humans have ever done on the face of the earth. So being able to throw 105 is
literally 10 ever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Handful. There's not many guys who have ever thrown a baseball 105 miles an hour. So definitely worth noting. Also, shout out Matt Allen. Know that he was the talk of the town, like when he first made his return to baseball after like 6 years of not playing because of injury. Still doing pretty well. It's like a 2.25 ERA, striking out over 25% of the batters he's facing. Great to see stuff from Matt Allen, who, again, is older for the level, but relatively speaking, in his baseball career is like still 19.
Yeah, right, because he didn't pitch between the ages of, I think, 18 and 24, which is where he is right now after copious amounts of arm injuries. He's striking out nearly 30% of the batters he's facing, so it's nice to see him just kind of pitching, every single week, doing that, building the consistency up is nice. He's still sitting 95, 96, 97 miles an hour at the fastball. The walks have been bad, but I understand someone struggling with their command if they didn't pitch for 6 years. If you didn't do anything for 6 years, I'm sure you wouldn't be that, consistent with it on the way back, but he's not really showing anything. He's only really thrown a fastball and a cutter so far. Again, he hasn't pitched in 6 years. Not a lot of really to lean on right here. Just really nice, happy for him specifically to see him able to do this.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then we've also got Chandler Marsh, who I think we might be able to get on the podcast at some point soon. Follows me on Instagram. When he posted about how well he was doing, I gave him a little like, hey, congrats, man. That's awesome to see. And he's got some really good stuff. He's been pitching really well in the minors. Did he get promoted to Brooklyn recently?
He may have. I can't vouch for that. I'm not sure. But I shouted him out last time as someone who just had like a real just weird pitch movement stuff with him. He's a big guy, pretty decent extension, gets up to like 95, 96 miles an hour with a fastball and a sinker. Just if you watch the videos of him, he's like a hulking dude. Like he's a man. He's
a University of Georgia guy, SEC, I believe.
I believe you on that.
All right. Well, keep telling me what you know about him then.
No, it's really, he was just kind of a guy to watch because he has a big extension. He has a sinker, has a lot of movements, real downward plane on his pitches. If he did get promoted, that'd be really cool too. But that was just one I wanted to keep everyone aware of, put in the tickler file because he has a starter's build and he's throwing a couple of different pitches, a decent amount of time with the fastball, the slider, the sinker, and the cutter, and all of them were missing tons of bats at Low A St. Lucie.
And yes, he's been promoted to Brooklyn, and he's 6'4", 245. Big fella.
Yeah, big fella. Jumped off the mound. And there's one more guy I want to talk about in St. Lucie, who another guy I shouted out last time, Christopher Gomez, another just stuff monster. He's throwing 93 miles an hour, but he has almost 7.5 feet of extension. So that 93, he's kind of releasing it like at your nose if you're the batter. Yeah, with another slider too that just sweeps like all the way across the zone. It's a crazy pitch. It's got like over a foot of horizontal movement. Both of those pitchers are getting nearly 40% whiff rates at Port St. Lucie. Just another guy. Nice that the Mets are in this kind of organization right now where like the organizational health is that, so these guys pop up out of nowhere. Didn't know anything about them before. You look at the stuff, you look at the stats, you look at the data, then you're like, oh, this is someone who is becoming a bit of a freak.
Yeah, on the hitting side, things are a little weird in PSL right now just because all the good hitters have been basically promoted to Brooklyn. So we will talk about guys like AJ Ewing and Marco Vargas here in a second. Colin Houck, former first-round pick, still struggling with consistency, but 10 extra base hits and 104 plate appearances, not too bad. He's rocking a 30% K rate, which is crazy, actually down from the previous year. So that's like a positive while walking about 10% of the time. Something's there. It's close. It's close. I feel like we're starting to see more and more of the reason why you get excited about a guy like Colin Houck. He's hit a ball almost 109 miles an hour this year, which is really good. He hit a home run 422 feet, 108 miles an hour in a game. There's definitely talent there. It just seems like there is a consistency issue right now with Colin Houck, which is maybe one of the reasons why he even fell to the Mets in the first place.
Yeah, and I do see that he has also been playing mostly designated hitter this season so far down there, which is, I don't know if that's something where they just want him to focus on the bat, but also third base as well. That to me was almost like more worrisome than him not hitting consistently.
Yeah.
Is the fact that on a roster that I know Jeremy Rodriguez is down there. No, he's up in Brooklyn now, actually. Jeremy Rodriguez.
I don't know if he got promoted or not.
But just the fact that we want to see more more high-end defensive ability from Colin Houck at this point. The fact that it's third base and DH, it's like, okay, if the bat isn't like a pure full carrying tool, how far can you really go?
Yeah, and then some other guys to mention too, some former top international prospects that the Mets had signed. Simone Juan, someone who we talked about from the spring breakout game, still has crazy exit velos. He's hit 2 balls over 110 miles an hour. That's harder than Alex Bregman and Nolan Arenado have basically ever hit baseballs in their entire career. I think he's like 18 or 19 years old, Simone Juan. But he's rocking a 31% K rate. He has a 500 OPS and about 77 plate appearances, not walking at all. He's struggling. And then Willie Fanias, another name that was part of that international class, just looks really, really bad. 50% K rate and about 50 plate appearances. Stuff where you're like, it's kind of a coin flip sometimes with these international guys.
I mean, it always is. And that's why we like to do these prospect reports every single month for you guys, because sometimes you will hear about guys, sometimes you just will not hear about guys. And I found the tweet where I thought Jeremy Rodriguez was promoted. It was someone quote tweeting Baseball America, shouting out what I didn't realize. They said former and future Brooklyn Cyclones, AJ Ewing and Jeremy Rodriguez, Paul Gervais. I was like, okay, that's where I missed that one. But
they were right about one of them. AJ Ewing moving down to Brooklyn. That's a good segue right there. AJ Ewing up to Brooklyn. He was disgusting at PSL. He hit 400 with a 506 on base, 1122 OPS and 81 plate appearances, playing all the outfield positions right now and second base. Eight extra base hits, 4 of those being triples. He stole 14 bases. He's walking more than he's striking out. He's still getting on base and stealing bases in Brooklyn, which is great. The slash line numbers aren't fantastic, but it's 5 games, so like who really cares? But he's getting on base, stealing bases, doing the thing where he just seems to be a good athlete, and the Mets are looking to see where they can put him in the field. I love to see that he's playing outfield and second base.
Yeah, he's someone that is getting a lot of buzz in a lot of legitimate prospect circles very quickly because he has these physical tools, like just like opposite we were talking about just now, Colin Houck, where he is showing some legitimate high-end defensive versatility, where he can play a lot of positions well. And when you see a guy being able to do that with physical tools, and I love when guys like AJ Ewing, who seem just too athletic for the levels they're at. We've talked about this in the past a little bit with someone like Nick Morbido. Just start stealing bases. You get on base and they just can't keep you there. Like, I know I'm faster, more athletic, and like a little bit smarter than you guys on the mound. I'm going to take this base because I need that base.
Yeah, no, he's doing really, really good stuff, as well as the guy who also got promoted with him, Marco Vargas, who we got from the David Robertson trade, right, to the Marlins.
Yes,
he was part of that, so shout out the Marlins for trading for a 40-year-old reliever in a year where they were never going to make any noise. Dominated PSL, hit 409 with a 527 on base, 1073 OPS is insane. Another guy who's walking more than he's striking out, which you just love to see. Struggling in a small sample in Brooklyn, but another middle infield prospect. Really good bat-to-ball skills, which is something that's so awesome to see, especially because Vargas was part of a trade, again, for a 40-year-old reliever in a year where the Mets were done.
Yeah, who came with Ronald Hernandez as well, who's also had some nice games down there. But then another guy who's been really exciting, especially recently, someone was getting some buzz, seeing a lot on Twitter, Jacob Reimer.
Yeah.
South Atlantic League Hitter of the Month. Jacob Reimer, we met, I think, in 2022, right when he got drafted, right? On the field.
That was a very weird experience where we spent the entire day with Jett Williams, which was very funny. But while we were on the field, when we were working for the Mets doing the podcast, Jacob Reimer came up to me and he was like, I watch your videos. Can I take a picture? I was like, this is crazy. You were just drafted by the Mets. You're like, I need a selfie with Giraffe Neck Mark. So big head moment there.
Yeah, but now, as a third baseman for the Cyclones, he got 1,000 OPS and 190 WRC plus. He had 3-homer game, which is the one that people were like, "Whoa, who's Jacob Reimer? Who's this guy going on?" I'm in the Dynasty League where he got picked up over the weekend. Where I was like,
Whoa.
"Jacob Reimer, yeah, that's like that. That's been happening with AJ Ewing too. I picked up AJ Ewing in a couple of Dynasty Leagues over the past couple of weeks. It's just the buzz." The Mets prospect buzz right now is pervasive in a way that people are paying attention to what's going on with the Mets minor leagues. We say this a lot, but we're years into the Steve Cohen experience now, where we're pumping tons of money into technology, coaches, development, equipment. Like that's the kind of thing where,
dude, even Steve Cohen was on the front line, like, or I don't want to say front lines, but he was like on the forefront. That's the word. He was on the forefront of making sure that these players have adequate housing, that they're being fed properly, that they have transportation, like all these things that teams took for granted. Again, Steve Cohen mentioned, he's like, prospects are the best investment I could literally ever make as an owner of a baseball team. They are going to make me so much money. Why would I not want to make sure that these guys could succeed to their best ability as possible? And you're starting to see it with guys that you haven't even heard of probably in the minor leagues, most people.
It is complicated enough to figure out what type of car you want. But when it comes to pricing and best time to buy and all of that information that you're looking for, Car Gurus is the only destination that you should be thinking about, Kratz. Why?
Because I don't have to question what the price is. It's going to be there. If the price changes and comes down to where I want it to be, bang, I get a notification. Car Gurus is giving it to me straight, and this is how I want to purchase a car. Not fast. I just want to know what's going on.
With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more car listings than any other major online automotive marketplace in the U.S. So you can find the best deal, and it's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. So you can buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.com, cargurus.com.
And this is also like a twofold thing where a couple of years ago, right during the pandemic, just after the pandemic, Major League Baseball drastically changed the way the minor leagues were run, where we took out, it was like 30% of all minor league teams and players. Like definitely so many abandoned ballparks around this country, so many abandoned leagues that existed for like 100 years where the minor league baseball was played in places like Appalachia and like Wyoming, Montana, places that there's not a lot of access to professional baseball. But what that does for these owners, which is why they push for it, is that when you don't have to spread your resources as widely among players who have very little chance of actually succeeding, you have fewer assets that are all much higher value, which is again how Steve specifically talked about these prospects that one time when he had that quote when he didn't really know when to talk and when to not talk yet as the owner of the Mets. But now you have, again, fewer guys who you know all have higher potential, higher upside, and a shorter time between being drafted to being signed and reaching the major leagues. So you can pump as many resources as possible and help these guys grow. The other part of that is we talk about all the time that how like Steve Cohen has the most money, but Major League Baseball tries to stop how much that can actually matter at the major league level. And we've done great with being able to circumvent that with, signing Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, P. Alonso, paying these big luxury tax bills every year. The one thing that's not limited is how much money you're able to spend on player development, coaching, food, housing, minor league amenities, all those things. And from talking to Ryan Lambert and just hearing what a lot of these Mets minor leaguers have had to say, media over the last couple of years, social media even, they have a lot of comforts that seems like a lot of other minor leaguers of past and present do not have. So that's where having an owner like Steve Cohen, who's like, yeah, I would love to pay extra on the margins so this 19-year-old recent draftee is comfortable in Coney Island. Like that's the beautiful thing about all of this.
Yeah, I had a friend who was in the Diamondbacks org, and he had to change cities 4 times once in a month. And he was like, I'm paying rent in 4 different cities right now, and I have my car in 2 different states away. Like, that's stressful, along with being like, hey, if I don't play well, my dream's over.
That was the old story with Travis Blankenhorn from a few years back, where he was a Mariners prospect and then the Dodgers prospect, and he got DFA and signed by the Mets, and he was playing in Syracuse, and his car was in Oklahoma City, and then the Mets Ubered him down from Syracuse to Queens. So just like what the things that go on for these guys in those upper levels when they're really trying to make it, and every single like last breath is spent trying to become a major league player because it's been your dream your whole life, and that's like that's your way to make it in the world. Like it's just, I think that's such like an underappreciated part of the game. And the fact that we're helping these guys on those margins when some other teams probably still don't. I think the Pirates, they still make the players pay for soda, even in the major leagues, where Steve Cohen's making sure someone like Ryan Lambert in the minor leagues, like he told us last year, has beautiful housing and wonderful couple of square meals every single day so he can eat his eggs, throw 110 miles an hour. That's the best part about all of this stuff.
Yeah, and back to Jacob Reimer, just to give you some more stats here. He's hitting 327 with a 393 on base, 1027 OPS, 186 WRC+. He had a 3 home run game back on April 30th, 18 extra base hits in 25 games is absolutely disgusting. Playing third base every single day. Just looks like a big, like, he's not tall. He's like 6 feet tall, but just like a strong kid who really makes really good bat to ball contact. Like, and he was doing that in PSL the prior year. Like, he's just been a really good hitter throughout his entire time.
He's stout, Reimer. Like, he's got a good, like, core. Like, he's not a big guy. He's not, like, going to overwhelm you with size, but he kind of has that, we've talked about it like a few times, like that fire hydrant build. Like, that's kind of what Reimer is. You get that good torque, get that good twist.
Now, some other guys to talk about: Boston Barrow, Jesus Baez, guys that we've been high on the podcast, have been big time struggling in Brooklyn. Baez coming back from an injury. Boston Barrow looks like he's getting that left-handed experience out in Brooklyn right now. Not really looking too sharp. But then there's 4 other hitters right now, 3 of which that we've talked about before: Christopher Suero, Eli Serrano, and Carson Bench, who are all just absolutely mashing. The new name that we're throwing on this list here is a guy by the name of Starling Mercado, which is also hilarious because that's the big Starling Marte meme, is that he's Starling Marte. But Starling Mercado lighting it up in Brooklyn, playing first base. Mechanically, his swing looks so weird. It doesn't necessarily look like he's like maybe that left-handed. I don't know. He's got a left-handed swing, slaps it, but also has the ability to pull. He's smoking the ball. 360 batting average, 450 on base, 970 OPS as a lefty in Brooklyn. So that's what makes me go, it's pretty good right there.
Yeah, it's very good right there. We'll take that. And then similarly, talking about some of our favorite guys who have been struggling in Brooklyn, struggling in a weird way. Jonathan Santucci, the 2nd-round pick from last season down in Brooklyn, somehow in some way giving up heaps of home runs as a left-handed pitcher in Brooklyn. I do not know how, and I do not know why. Well, maybe ERA 7 right now.
They're just stacking righties. Maybe that's what it is.
I don't think you have enough players to stack righties down there, but I am seeing actually, okay, so 4 of the 5 home runs actually did happen on the road at the Phillies minor league team and the Orioles minor league team. So is that the Blue Claws, the Philly single A? It's Philly single A.
Should be Blue Claws, I think. I don't know if they're higher. Whatever. I don't know.
But yeah, so there was back-to-back starts towards the end of April where he allowed 2 home runs in each start. One of them he didn't even get out of the 2nd inning. So something to watch with Santucci if this home run problem becomes a thing. But that was after he had 2 really good starts to begin this season there. So it's just small sample, things like ERA, stuff like that. Not a very big deal, but there are another couple of recent draftees down in Brooklyn who are pitching very, very well right now. The first of which is R.J. Gordon, drafted 2 years ago, has a 2.14 ERA and 28% strikeout rate with a nice slider. And then Noah Hall, a Gamecock.
Go Cox.
I think he was last year's draftee. I might have those guys' draft years mixed up, but 1.88 ERA, 30% strikeout rate. Noah Hall, the big cue right him for now is to work on finding a consistent slider because he has a very, very good changeup, but being a changeup first right-handed pitcher who doesn't have like peak velocity, it's hard to hit that next level like that. But there's going to be some guys we're going to talk about next couple levels that the Mets have taught some new pitches to that have drastically improved their ceilings. But just putting the ticklers out there for both R.J. Gordon and Noah Hall as guys that I got guys to watch. Guys to put in the tickler file.
Yeah, and of course, Joel Diaz might be back a little bit. 0.44 ERA, striking out 32% of the batters, kind of not walking anybody either. Like, it feels very, very weird because we've been doing these prospect reports now since 2021 when we started the podcast, and we used to have to grasp at straws. Now it's like, whoa, there's too many players. How do we fit in all this info into one episode that's not 2 hours long?
And that's kind of my favorite part about Joel Diaz, that he was like the first real guy that we pinged on these. Like, oh, here's someone to watch.
Him and Budo.
yeah, right. And it's funny where these guys are right now, where Joel Diaz is still down at high A. But dealt with some arm injuries, very long recovery from Tommy John surgery, but like a 32% strikeout rate, no walks in high A. Still is a pretty young pitcher. Like, that's someone that should be watched. And I forgot one guy because I thought he was in Brooklyn, but he actually is still in PSL. Nate Dome, working on a 10-inning scoreless streak. My boy from the draft last year, striking out tons of guys down there. Just kind of, the Mets have this thing going on right now where they might be like too packed full with pitchers in these minor league systems because they just can't really find spots in the going up and up and up in the levels where Dome was drafted last season and guys like Gordon and Hall were drafted 2 seasons ago. But the Binghamton rotation is so good that they're having trouble sneaking into that Binghamton rotation. It's funny that there's almost like traffic right now in the Mets minor league rotations because of how many good pitchers there are.
Sounds like a really good problem to have for a team that could use a big pitcher at the trade deadline. Feels like this is a match made in heaven right now.
It's like, oh no, I can't believe we have too much starting pitching depth in the minor leagues. I don't know if the Marlins or the Twins want to take any of it from us. I don't know if they could possibly help us out with that.
Yeah, is Pablo Lopez interested in playing in Queens? We've got a bunch of prospects I'd love to give to Minnesota for him.
Have you been paying attention to Pablo Lopez this year? He looks so good.
Of course, because he's always so good.
Outrageous. He's like a blatant top 15 pitcher in the league again. Because another guy I forgot to mention, also down there, Port St. Lucie, Will Watson. He's a shout out. He could be this year's I think so. I think our guy Isaac called him this year's Jonah Tong, which is crazy. Yeah,
I think he did, yeah.
He did, but he's still striking out the world with a fastball with incredible movement traits right now in the low 90s, but an amazing approach angle, amazing life on it. Like it's a full repertoire off that with a hard slider, a cutter, a two-seamer. Like there's so many guys. Like the volume of dudes that the Mets minor leagues have right now is truthfully, it's not comparable to any time ever in our lives. Like people are making jokes about Generation K with a bunch of these guys in AAA together now, where it's like it's not even the same galaxy because there's 25 other ones between every single other level that we have. It's stupid right now how many recent draftees we're converting to guys who have good minor league stuff, skills, and stats.
Yeah, and I mean this Brooklyn team especially is just a fucking they're a
unit.
Problem right now in the Sally League. Like the Brooklyn is 17-9, Port St. Lucie's 15-12, Binghamton's 15-11. Go back 2 years, the Mets minor league teams couldn't win double-digit games, it felt like early in the year. Like they were so bad.
They were getting smoked in these leagues. I think Brooklyn may have had like 8 straight losing seasons or something crazy like that. Maybe with one good one mixed in between, but it's not. It's truly not. Yeah, we will do have to get out there. The depth of the system is night and day compared. Should we go Thursday?
Maybe Thursday.
Check the schedule.
Yeah, check the schedule. We'll see what that's all about. I will say one more thing about the hitters. Eli Serrano, we weirdly got some exit velos from Brooklyn over on Twitter.
Cyclones just tweeted them out. They tweeted out a couple exit velocities.
Hey, the intern that's making these tweets, can you give us this info and not tell anybody? Eli Serrano, 110. That's fantastic.
Yeah, him having a 110. It was hear this from the Brooklyn Cyclones. Here's a look at last week's National Grid New York Power Report with Eli Serrano responsible for 3 of the Cyclones' 5 hardest hit balls. So this is just in a week for Eli Serrano. There was a 110, a 108, a 108, while Ronald Hernandez also had the 108 and Jacob Reimer had the 109.
Fantastic stuff. Amazing to see from the young players out in Brooklyn. All right, let's jump up to AA now. James, get us started. Who do you want to talk about first?
I mean, it's almost like boring. It's old hat at this point, but Jonah Tong is obscene. I love this guy. He's so good. And again, I love Jonah Tong. I think he's going to have a great career for a long time. If he wants to help us get Pablo Lopez the trade deadline, I'll be forever grateful for Jonah Tong. But he just had an obscene week. He struck out 19 guys in 8 innings. He only allowed 1 earned run. He hit 98 in the radar gun. Like he's starting to get the true, like top 10, top 15 prospect pitcher in baseball treatment from people like in the prospect world, in the baseball sphere. We're going to have the midseason top prospect updates come out. You're going to see someone aggressively rank him as like a top 35 prospect in all of baseball. And I think it's going to be Baseball Prospectus, I imagine, because I know that they're so much higher in guys with crazy pitch traits. I just know that Tong has crazy pitch traits. I'm almost like at the point where is he actually close to AAA? Because I'm salivating the idea that we can get StatCast data on Jonah Tong. Like, the day that happens, I'm a freak.
If he was in another organization like the Mariners, he would be weeks away from getting a call-up possibly if someone was getting hurt, because we know that they love to jack their guys from AA right to the major league level, skip AAA, especially because of the PCL out there. The way he's dominating AA, it's almost at a point where it's like, I don't know how much left he has to show there. Let's get him in AAA, the different baseballs. Let's see how he adjusts that different baseball. Even if he spends the entire rest of the season in AAA and struggles, whatever it is, that's got to be so incredibly valuable to him rather than just dominating guys at AA where he is so much clearly better than them.
It is still a big walk problem for Tong. I think he's still struggling to grasp just the way his breaking balls move, and sometimes his fastball just has so much life, it just elevates too high out of the strike zone, which is an amazing problem to have. But I also think that Mariners thing is probably going to change now because the way the baseball stuff is changing with the minor league levels. I think the different ball for AA and AAA is only a last 2-year thing. I know Lance Brzezowski just put out a YouTube video on that. I got to watch that. It's on my queue for today. But I think that with that ball changing, it becomes much more important, despite the fact that, again, the West Coast teams maybe not because the PCL is just so ridiculous, Pacific Coast League, where I think Coors would have like the 7th or 8th highest elevation for any field in that league. That's how ridiculous it is. Last year in that league, the new ballpark in Sacramento, I believe, was either the most pitcher-friendly or the second most pitcher-friendly in that entire league. That's how obscene that league is, where that ballpark already is like a top 3rd hitter's park in baseball. In that league, it was the pitcher's haven, which is kind of funny to think about. But again, a guy like Tong, who's just maybe the cue is just like you have to throw more strikes. Like you can't continue to have these strikeout rates over 10%. Right now it's basically 15% at AA. But also like maybe not. I don't know. Like AJ Smith-Shawver has always been like a 10, 12, 14% walk rate guy through the minor leagues. He's pitching in the majors the same age Jonah Tong is right now. So like maybe it just becomes like an organizational mindset at that point of what you want to do, how much you need to see from these guys before they're in the majors. But in terms of raw stuff, strikeout totals, and this kind of otherworldly potential of pitchers in any minor league team, any minor league level right now. It's Jonah Tong is on that elite tier, which is amazing to say.
Got another pitcher down there getting some national buzz too right now. And he's been on this podcast. Ryan Lambert, our dog, American Psycho. He's getting national buzz. I mean, Lance has been tweeting out about him. He's got one of the best fastballs in baseball right now in the minor leagues.
All levels.
All levels, one of the best fastballs. We know he drinks eggs. We know he's nuts. He's throwing 102 miles an hour. I mean, he's dominating again, AA. Absolutely dominating to the point where, like, it feels like the call-up could be real by September, maybe.
Literally, yes. We have to actually, we're worried about that because we have to prepare our stomach to drink the raw eggs because we made that promise. And then we should also reach out to him, have him back on the podcast and be like, hey, dude, you're fucking sick. Like, this has been an amazing year since you talked to us.
How's the pitching lab done?
Yeah, tell us about this. But even just through a couple innings right now at AA, it's only 3 innings right now at AA, but he's striking out everybody. And he was striking out 61% of batters he faced in Brooklyn this season in 8 innings pitched. 61%. And the data we have from Lance is that he has the 3rd highest swing strike rate on a 4-seam fastball of any pitcher in all of the minor leagues, any single level across everything, with a minimum of 100 fastballs thrown. That's over 25%. And the big difference between swing strike rate and whiff rate, where if you're talking about whiff rate, you're only talking about the pitches that hitters have swung and missed at, but they actually had to swing at. Swing strike rate is a percentage of all the pitches he threw. So when Ryan Lambert throws a fastball, 25% of the time, 1 out of 4 hitters swing through that pitch. And that's a pitch that's sitting 100 miles an hour, has over 20 inches of induced vertical break. Like, it's an obscene pitch, and one that right now, if he gets to the major leagues, I'm basically certain he'll be able to miss bats with it.
Yeah, especially with all the injuries that the Mets have been just kind of piling up, and the fact that Dedniel looked really, really bad in his one appearance against Arizona so far. Mets could always use some more relief arms if Ryan Lambert keeps going. Why not?
And also, they were like, you made 7 appearances in Brooklyn, AA, get ready. AA. Like, you're ready to go. Because also, like, he played pretty high-level college baseball. Like, and if you have stuff, like, how much you really have to prove? Like, all of these teams have, like, their own version of what a stuff plus is. They understand what these pitch shapes are. And once you see a guy as a shape, like, there's no one at this level is going to be even remotely a challenge for you. It's like, keep going up.
Yeah, we've got another call-up just recently from Brooklyn. He won, while Reimer won the South Atlantic League Player of the Month for hitting. The pitcher also came from Brooklyn, Zach Thornton, Grand Canyon University, low-key building a little powerhouse in sports out there. Everybody keep an eye out for this. Lanky lefty, and he was dominant down in Brooklyn.
He was someone who came on my radar in the last few weeks. Another guy who weirdly got picked up one of my deep dynasty leagues where I was like, whoa. And it was by my cousin who's a Mets fan, so I was like, double whoa. But I was expecting to see like a lanky lefty who was throwing some sinkers and some sweepy sweepers and like seeing what he was doing over there. Dude throws gas hard. He has like one of those 3/4 arm slots, but he's got like the whip. He's the whip arm. So it just comes right through and comes and attacks the hitters. And we do know that lefties with Brooklyn, it's not the most difficult place to it's not the easiest place to succeed because it's very lefty susceptible. Lefty hitters will perform worse there. So if a lefty's more susceptible to right-handed hitters, it's easier for them to hit. Probably something's happening in Jonathan Santucci right now. But having an 0.44 ERA, 25 strikeouts and 2 walks and 20 innings, a whip under 0.7, it's another thing where it's like the Mets were like, yep, he's ready to go. Put him up right there. And someone who was not a lot of buzz out of the draft 2 years ago, a 5th round pick out of Grand Canyon, someone that as deep as we get in these prospect reports had never discussed before, never even came onto our radar. And it's just, it happens so fast with these guys in the Mets system right now where it's like, damn, there's another new one, then another new one, another new one. Like, look what we found. Here's another stud pitcher.
Yeah, like Wenninger was a guy that had been like a name where it's like, look at this guy. And he did just come off his first bad start of the year where he gave up 6 earned runs in about 5 innings, but he's still been so great this season.
Oh, and the one before that, he struck out 10 guys in 5 innings, didn't allow an earned run. And he's another guy, there's true national buzz. Like, he's Baseball America's been shouting out Jett Williams because we talked about him a lot last year, coming from University of Illinois, mid-round draft pick. It was just, it was a changeup guy from a high arm slot that didn't really have an exciting fastball. Like, coming from the high arm slot, didn't really have an exciting shape. Kind of came on a downhill plane to the guys. The changeup is right-handed pitcher. We just talked about that with Noah Hall. It's like, okay, you might be able to work your way into being like a mid-end, back-end rotation guy. Throwing like 4 miles an hour harder this year. He has a new slider that's like perfect from the arm slot to go off that changeup, and it's just like, whoa, you guys hit that so fast, like
so quick.
That was so quick, and you're like, damn. And like I remember last year at the trade deadline when the Mets made the
Tyler Stewart for Jesse Winker.
Yeah, the Jesse Winker, Tyler Stewart trade. People didn't really realize how much they should be trusting David Stearns yet. They're like, oh, we gave up a guy who could be a great back end rotation guy. Like we just made 3 new Tyler Stewarts in a month. Like it doesn't matter. Like we have the deep organizational like these guys, and we're talking about guys like Tong, Wenninger, and Thornton, who are again in AA. there's not that far from the major leagues. If you're pitching in Double-A right now, there's reason to believe that you have, by the end of the 2026 season, like you're basically ready to be a major league pitcher.
Yeah.
Like you're very close. Like these guys are going to get reps in the Arizona Fall League.
If you keep on this insane rise that these guys have had, there's a chance that you make an appearance before the start of the 2026 season if you're still on this astronomical rise. Obviously, if Jonah Tong keeps striking out 45% of the batters he's facing in AAA, all of a sudden the Mets are like, yeah, I think we have to call this guy up.
Totally. And they have other guys down there who have still been pitching well, but just don't have the same kind of stuff and buzz. Like a guy like Jonathan Pintaro doesn't allow any runs, strikes out tons of guys. Like it's an embarrassment of riches. And like all these guys are up at the level because we just had Nolan McLean's been so good. He got pushed up to AAA where it's just like, it's going. Everything with the Mets farm system right now is a snowball effect. And it's kind of great. But even talk about some of the hitters down there because we do have some exciting guys down there who maybe not, I mean, besides, I'm talking about Jett Williams, actually, because I know he's ripping the cover off the ball.
Yeah, Jett's doing like that awesome thing where it's like, oh, okay, look, he's healthy, and Jett Williams is totally back. 295, 361, 873 OPS plus, or WRC plus at 151. He's only played 15 innings in center field, 1 game at second base. That's the thing that's a little like he's definitely playing shortstop. Maybe that's also because they want to trade him as a shortstop. That's, I think, a possibility too.
I think it's also the kind of thing where it's like you have to make sure teams know like he can be a shortstop because the most value is shortstop. Shortstop is the most important defensive position in the field. Yeah. Again, that probably just depends on who's pitching, but I think objectively it's the most important position, shortstop.
Yeah, and he's just such a good fucking hitter. Like you watch him and he just hits the ball hard, hits it to all fields, has a good approach. The K rate's back down to normal rates right now, 23% K rate while he's walking around 10% of the time. Like he is just going to be a very, very good Major League Baseball player, whether it's for the Mets or another organization. He is such a fun little player to have.
And it's nice to see that last year, the injury-riddled season, he's been able to put it behind him, find the power after having that wrist issue, because wrist injuries can zap power for a little bit of time. Being the guy that he seemed like he was intending to be 2 years ago when he had the huge breakout coming through the system. It's just nice that he is a high-end prospect, the one that was promised.
Yeah, and then we got to talk about a good Paisan, a nice Italian out in Binghamton, Nick LaRusso, middle name Dante Nicholas Dante LaRusso. I mean, that's one of the most Italian names ever.
That's the Maryland kid, right?
Yeah, Maryland and Villanova. Yeah, from Carmel, New York. Just a good hitter. Like I don't know what it's going to be because he's a little bit older for the level because he was a college kid. He's hitting 280, has an 823 OPS. Like if you just hit, you'll find your way to the major leagues at some point. And he's been hitting really well. The other two names to talk about in Binghamton right now, Ryan Clifford. Been hot and cold. I think that's the Ryan Clifford experience right now. We're seeing the inconsistencies again where he's striking out a ton, but walking a ton. Batting average below 200. He has the Devils OPS at 666. They've tried him in the corner outfield a little bit, but he's been mostly first base. I think this is just kind of what you're getting with him. It's a little Joey Gallo-ish like, where it's going to be a lot of strikeouts, hit the ball hard. Hopefully he gets hot.
I mean, some people are going to freak out. You just said that about Joey Gallo, but
it's kind of true.
I mean, that's what I was trying to angle before I remember that Jett Williams existed. But it's kind of this. It keeps being the same song and dance with Ryan Clifford, where it's just this uber patience to the point where it's like, hey man, good things happen when you swing.
Yeah.
Take a shot on the ball. Like you I don't know, he's got a great left-handed cut. He had the big power. He definitely has good understanding of the strike zone because he's able to draw these walks. So I guess it's just a swing and miss thing. Again, that can happen sometimes. These bigger players, these longer levers, longer swings. It's just gotta figure it out.
Nick Morabito, he was a big name that people were loving last year. He's basically been a league average hitter at Double-A. We kind of expected a little bit of a fall off for Morabito just because his big thing was athleticism. So he has a 95 WRC plus in Double-A right now in the season, 679 OPS, not particularly great. The concern was always going to be hitting, still playing center field, still a great athlete. The one thing I will say, though, the stolen bases have slowed down a ton. Only 7 stolen bases in 24 games. That, to me, is a little bit concerning.
It's also a situation for Morabito where he is still a bit young for the level. He just turned 22. I think his birthday was like last week or 2 weeks ago. So he is a college senior right now. He's already playing Double-A baseball. We chatted about a guy like Nick LaRusso. He's going to be turning 25 in a few months. So again, that's just like a difference in age and level. And people say that if you're trying to equate age to level, for every year below the league average age in your league you can kind of give yourself 20 to 30 points of WRC plus. So get Morabito 25, 30 points WRC plus because about a year and a half younger than the average age of the level. Now suddenly a pretty good season.
Yeah. Also very funny. Just got a text from Ryan Lambert's agent, and it was about Lance Brozdowski's tweet about how
Nice.
Lambert's got one of the best fastballs in the country.
Nice. Let's hit him back right now. But want to have him on the podcast next few weeks.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely let him know. Last guy we'll talk about offensively, Kevin Parada. It's bad. He has a 380 OPS. He's playing, and it's just he can't really do anything right now. So not sure what to do with that.
I feel like Parada, he might need like the Colson Montgomery reset with the White Sox did, where it's like go back down to low A. Just go for a week.
Remember that you can hit baseballs.
Just go into the sun, like, hang out for a little while, hit the ball off some 19-year-olds, just enjoy yourself for a little while. Like get back to the love of the game. And
I only bring that up because that's a name that a lot of people still talk about as like what's going on with Kevin Parada. That's simply an update for him.
That's it. Because at this point, it's very unlikely that he has a major league caliber ceiling.
Right now, at this moment.
At this point, exactly right now.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on up to AAA. Not as much here because AAA is filled with a bunch of guys who aren't really like prospects. There are a lot of 30-year-olds in AAA, but we've got some fun guys on the pitching side. Let's just finish off hitting real quick here, be done with it, and then let's dive deep into the pitchers because it's 3 guys there. Drew Gilbert's off to a really nice start, especially now with Jesse Winker being out as long as we know he's going to be 6 to 8 weeks. The Mets don't necessarily need outfield help, but Drew Gilbert does bring a left-handed bat that could play center field because he's playing center field exclusively at AAA, which is really good to see. Hitting .273 with a .414 on base, .409 slugging, .823 OPS in the 14 games thus far. 1-to-1 K to walk ratio is fantastic. And he hit a ball 110 off of Jake Bloss, who is a guy that you love. He's going to be coming up for the Blue Jays in their system.
95 mile to AAA, though.
Okay, well, there you go. 95 mile an hour fastball. Drew Gilbert hit it 110 off of him. That is harder than Alex Bregman or PCA have ever hit a ball in their career.
There you go. That's it for hitting. That's the only guy. There has been some good videos of him like making diving catches center field. I think it's meaningful for Gilbert that he is specifically playing center field.
Only center field.
That is the problem area for this Mets roster. Tyrone Taylor's been blazing hot. We've had a lot of people ask us to apologize for our Tyrone Taylor takes last week because since we said that
he needed.
Since we said he was a borderline DFA candidate, all he's done is extra base hits basically in every single at bat. But I always caution people to get excited about just the concept of diving catches when you see highlights because sometimes an actual really good outfielder could have just caught the ball on his feet. So I think that's always a fun thing to try and figure out. Was this a good catch
Harrison
or was
Bader
it a bad
doesn't
jump?
make like any diving catches. Like, do you remember diving catches really when he was with the Mets? Not many. He just
sliding once in a while. It's just fast as hell. It gets there. But now let's get to the pitchers at AAA because first one, he hasn't thrown a pitch at AAA yet, but he will soon. And I literally cannot wait for the moment it happens. It's Nolan McLean. Nolan McLean is taking over the baseball world right now. Prospect prognosticators from all extents, corners of the country are talking about Nolan McLean, how exciting he is. It's the fact that also he's just on a special path right now. He's only 2 years after being drafted. He's already in AAA. Crazier to even think about. It's only 1 year of him being a full-time pitcher, and he's already gone through one of the hardest levels, the upper minors, AA. And he seems to be expanding the repertoire. There's a good note from friend of the podcast, Aaron Layton, that he still has the amazing sweeper. That's a pitch that he can use whenever he wants, all the time. But also something that he showed off a bit in the spring breakout game that got us so excited 2 years ago, year and a half now, 14 months ago now, is this like tight gyro slider that he's been able to use early in the count, late in the count, against right-handed batters, mostly against left-handed batters, because that big looping sweeper from Nolan McLean, while that pitch is amazing, and the fact that it can be in the upper 80s with like 20 inches of movement, something that would be one of the best pitches in Major League Baseball right now, and I stand on that fact. Having the tight gyro slider that he can work low in the zone against the left-handed batter is something that's vital for him if he's going to get up and move to these levels. I'm going to talk about Brandon Sproat in a little bit. And the big issue when you keep going up and up in these levels is how often you're being platooned against. How often as a righty with a sweeper, which a lot of these righties are now because we're 2 years off the year of the sweeper. So all these guys now know how to throw sweepers. That's their biggest secondary pitch. You need to be able to throw another breaking ball that can be a foil for left-handed batters. And he's throwing a curve too now, Nolan McLean. Aaron noted there. So the fact that he has 3 distinct breaking balls, 2 of them are plus against lefties. He's still throwing mid to upper 90s with the fastball. It's becoming the point where he's the potential on Nolan McLean. I don't want to get super dragged into it because we just did this with Brandon Sproat and he started throwing the new baseball and he started facing lefties every single at bat and things changed really quickly. But I'm excited to see what he can do against these lefties in AAA.
Yeah, the one difference with McLean and Sproat is that McLean, like, worst case scenario, is going to be a disgustingly good reliever. Like
Sproat too, I think.
Yeah, but like, throws hard. But like McLean has that pitch where you're like, that's the calling card. Like that sweeper could just make you a major league reliever right now.
Yeah, and the fact that there's there's a clear development of pitches. He keeps learning new pitches because it was sweeper fastball. He started throwing that gyro slider. A couple notes that now he has the curveball too, and he's not scared to even throw that curveball. It's like a back foot pitch to the lefties either. Like it seems like there's a real tool bag coming here. And that's like kind of the shame of all this is like, that was what made me so excited about Sproat initially coming through last year. I saw the way that changeup worked for him at Florida. I saw the way he developed that sweeper in the lower levels of the minors. That with a fastball, that when he was using a different ball, and we're just transitioning, talking about Brandon Sproat now, using a different ball and talking and pitching in backfields, getting up to people reporting, 18, 19, 20 inches of induced vertical break. So I'm like, okay, I know he has the sinker. I know he has the changeup. Now he has a real fastball and a real sweeper. Boom, bang, lefties and righties done, handled. But as he keeps going up in these levels and as he's now used a different ball, the changeup is gone. It's out of the repertoire almost completely.
Crazy.
He's throwing 5 to 6 of them to start. So maybe it's just the way that his arm slot changed, or the way his pronation changed when he was throwing more and more of those sweepers. Sometimes pitchers have said that the way you throw certain pitches will affect the way other pitches can work. I know Garrett Cole's talked about this a lot, where he's struggled with his cutter usage at times over the last few years as he's tried to develop that pitch, because the way he intended to throw that cutter was affecting his fastball movement, where now his four-seamer started cutting too much and stopped getting the rising action. That's happening this season with Ryan Helsley as well, where Ryan Helsley picked up a cutter, and all of a sudden his four-seam fastball is cutting all the way to his glove side, where it's like, oh, that pitch used to just go up and down. So now it's like, do I get rid of that pitch that's actually helping? Do I find another way to find an in-between for both of those pitches? So I do think that may be something that's affected Sproat, but he just had another start against the Worcester
Keep
Woo
him
Sox.
away from the fucking Woo Sox.
The Woo Sox, he's going to have nightmares about Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer and these Woo Sox, because he got murked by them again. Another 6 runs in only a few innings. That start, though, it does seem like there was an intent for that. Like, hey, you got to throw the four-seam fastball. It was like 50, 60% four-seam fastballs, and they sat 97 miles an hour. But again, the shape was bad, the command was and they just got hammered. And then you look right now at like what we're really, because again, the ERA is very high. We don't care about minor league ERA. We care about your strikeouts, we care about your stuff. It's only 17% strikeouts, 12% walks. He's only completed 5 innings one time. And it all comes back to where is that changeup? Because the fastball has enough velocity where you should be able to fake it against left-handed hitters at any level, 97 miles an hour. But it all has to come with that changeup and a gyro slider that he has showed in the past too, and also is not really showing anymore either, where it's like if those pitches aren't there, then that's how you get this like Brandon Pfaadt comp, where it's like, here's a sinker, here's a sweeper. When a lefty comes up, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's the scary part with Sproat, is that there's just now where there was so much rise with him so quickly. Now that he's hit a bit of a snag, it's like, we're not seeing the getting through that snag either, which is the concerning part for me.
You're not seeing the glass being broken in front of him. And that's why, again, I'm over the moon excited about Nolan McLean. I think the sky is the limit for him as well, but learning the lesson, because that's a bunch of what this prospect analysis is. You have to learn your lessons and apply them in the future. So learning the lesson from Sproat, understanding how much of an adjustment that new ball at AAA can be, how much of an adjustment facing these heavy left-handed lineups can be for these guys who are mostly fastball sweeper kind of guys. A little more pronounced for Sproat because he's sinker sweeper, and McLean is the four-seam fastball. I'm excited. I'm not anxious, but I'm waiting on bated breath to make sure that we could get Nolan McLean, because this is the same thing we talked about with Sproat last year, where like the helium gets crazy.
Yes.
And this is what we talked about Nolan McLean preseason, where if you keep busting through these glass ceilings at like the breakneck pace that McLean has, that Sproat was, then you're a top 5 pitching prospect in baseball. You're contributing in a pennant race.
Jonah Tong type stuff.
Literally, like that's the hope. That was the hope for Sproat heading into the season, but he hit a wall. But now McLean is the guy where if he breaks through that wall, like now you're like, oh shit. Like Nolan McLean is throwing innings in division race against the Braves in August.
Should be absolutely insane. Last guy to talk about here, ending on a positive. Where the fuck did Felipe De La Cruz coming from? I'd never heard of this guy's name ever. All of a sudden, he's in AAA in his debut. Strikes out 9 MLB or minor league player of the week. Like, where the fuck did this come from?
Literally, of all minor league players, he's the minor league player of the week, and he did strike out 9 guys in International League debut. Literally no clue where he came from. I know we were talking about another guy last year, Joander Suarez, who similarly kind of came out of nowhere. He's similarly he's not hit the wall in AAA, but he's been fine there. But De La Cruz as like a smaller lefty, I also love when these guys are signed from international free agency. De La Cruz was signed 4 years ago in 2021 as a 19-year-old. He's only listed as 6 foot 160.
Yes,
he's definitely like a 6'2", like 190 guy if you watch the videos of him. But I do want to pump the brakes a little bit in him being like the next great Mets starter, because it's just only similar to everything we're talking about Sproat right now. It's only sinkers and sweepers. It's only sinkers and sweepers. And it's under 6 feet of extension. So being a 94, 95 guy with under 6 feet of extension, Yeah, it's kind of like you're throwing the ball right back here, like at your ear. So that
I'll explain this to people too. When we give the positives on extension, where like a guy's like Raimon Gomez is throwing 105 with that extension, looks like 110. You're not losing miles per hour in a guy like Felipe De La Cruz. Everything's still taken from 60 feet. So you are still theoretically closer than you were than where it's being tracked from. But you're not getting that like extra oomph. You're not getting that sneaky fastball where you're like, how the fuck is 92 blowing by guys like when you watch Bailey Ober pitch?
Yeah, right, exactly. And the fact that the ball is being released like of an 8-inch difference, that's just another, again, couple milliseconds for a hitter to pick up the pitch and understand what you're throwing it. But De La Cruz does have a very legitimate slider. It's one of those big, loopy, left-handed, three-quarter release sliders that just like goes through the entire strike zone, just goes batter's box to batter's box. So seeing that, I think no matter what, the guy's probably a good reliever. And the Mets desperately need a lefty right now. Like they don't have a lefty reliever anywhere. So unless his changeup gets a lot better really quickly, which he's trying to mix it in a little bit, I see a reliever. But if he keeps striking out tons of guys and giving him no runs in AAA, we'll not be able to deny his potential as a starter. But also, I think we're in a point with the Mets AAA where like the fact that we got real good major league appearances out of Justin Hageman and Brandon Waddell, like there's no way that even though a guy like Felipe De La Cruz is in AAA, he's being rushed to the majors, even as a reliever, because he's being worked as a starter. Even being a bad starter is more valuable than being a good reliever at the end of the day.
Yes.
Unless you're a great reliever. That's where it changes. But then you also still have to be a bad starter, not a terrible starter. So I think that's something that I don't see that change happening during the season for someone like Felipe De La Cruz, who's moving fast right now, and he's been throwing at least 3 innings every appearance he's had this season and just completed 6 in his first start in AAA. So that's something it's someone to keep an eye on, but I wouldn't be like, this is the next McLean, Tong, Sproat. Like, this is not someone in those categories, even like a Lambert, even like a Wenninger. Like, that's just, he's definitely down a level compared to those guys based on both the level of his stuff and the depth of his repertoire.
Just it's really nice to hear that we went 45 minutes about all these guys in the Mets farm system, and all I can think about is who are we going to trade for a big pitcher? That's all I can keep thinking.
And you know what's crazy? Like, we could have gone another hour because even off the top of my head, there's like 10 guys. I'm like, I wish I could have found a way to mention them. Guys
and
like
we don't
Banks,
even have
Ben
like
Simon.
Like the Complex League just started, the CPX. So there's only been like 4 games there, so we have nothing to talk about there yet. DSL hasn't started yet. Like, oh man, check us in July when we're talking about Elian Pena and what other international players are doing in those leagues. Can't wait.
But yeah, literally, we can't stress this enough. The depth of the Mets farm system right now is not something that we can compare it to any other time in our lives. Even just being our 4th, 5th year doing this podcast, doing these prospect reports for 4 or 5 years now, besides 1 year in the middle where we didn't do them for some reason. I've never seen this kind of stuff, this much excitement. Like, there was time we were trying to like feign excitement. Like, we were picking out guys like Jose Budo and Yoel Diaz. Like, this might be these might be pitching prospects that could sneak into the major leagues at some point. Now it's like, holy fucking shit. Like, we have guys that are 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, up and down every single level.
No, we got some ball players, and that's tip the cap. Good job by
they're winning.
They're winning, except Syracuse. Syracuse stinks, but everybody else is winning. That's
perfect. That's all we've ever asked for with these guys.
Yeah, I actually don't want my AAA team winning games like that. I don't care. That's where you can store all those other guys. Let the development happen in AA and Single A.
That's where you have guys like the Orioles, where they get to the major league, they don't know how to lose.
Yeah, that's
a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. Where the Mets keep winning baseball games. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Make sure you're subscribed to the Mets'd Podcast YouTube channel. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. Shout out to our members. Shout out to everybody. You can follow James on social media at
James Shiano.
And I'm Giraffe Neck Bark with a C. Thank you guys for listening and watching. We will catch you all on the next episode. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Let's go Mets.